we are going to start, and let's hope that you guys sincerely enjoy it. So I am going to start sharing my screen in a few seconds, and here we go. So let me start, and we commence. Okay, so any questions that you guys have, make sure you put it here in the Q&A, and I'll answer them as soon as this webinar is over, by the way, because you know, this topic is a little bit intense, so it's best to leave the questions for last. Okay, so without further ado, here we go. So let me close this, and this is, as some of you may well know, this is like our you know, presentation template that I have. I absolutely love this. So it's SEO and WordPress. It's a beginner's guide to optimize your website. So what are we going to learn? We are going to learn how to increase your traffic via SEO. So SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it basically means the techniques and best practices that you can do with your website in order to increase your listings as far as search engines is concerned, and how well or not so well you rank for any given keywords. As you may well know, Google is a powerhouse when it comes to SEO. They are absolutely the biggest search engine out there, and one of the things that Google gives a lot of emphasis is that your users are the most important. So I am not going to discuss, you know, practices that are going to go against what is best for your users. You always need to think about your users. You need to think about your user experience. How good is the website that you are offering, the content, the graphics, everything? How good is that for your users? So Google takes that into consideration, and we are going to discuss some of those best practices in this webinar. So their goal, Google's goal from a business perspective, is that whenever people search online for things, they want to deliver the most accurate content there is. So the most relevant, the most accurate content that you are actually looking for, that's what they want to serve you. So relevance and good user experience is pivotal to their ethos as a company. So again, I don't want to include bad practices here. This webinar is not about that. So we are going to focus on your users, and always remember that Google is incredibly smart as far as, you know, the way it ranks things. The way it ranks, I also have to say, it's one of the most guarded secrets, corporate secrets out there. I would say maybe second to the recipe of Coca-Cola or Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's a very, very proprietary algorithm that they use in order to rank first for any given keyword. So nobody actually knows the recipe or the algorithm. They just give you a set of guidelines of what they recommend as far as search engine, as your site is concerned, in order to rank better and receive more traffic organically. So naturally, this is good for you, because if you are ranking high for given keywords, you are bringing in a steady flow of traffic into your website, which in turn, you can turn that into actual prospects, actual clients, actual products solved, or whatever industry you are, you know, working on. So this is going to be completely agnostic of the industry. I am going to use a lot of emphasis on our company at GreenGeeks. We're a web hosting company. So I'm going to give a little bit of the focus is going to be geared towards that, but you can always think of it in your terms, in your business. And of course, you know, all the things that you acquire here are going to be useful from now on. Okay. So what are we going to need? We're going to need a WordPress site, that is for sure. Well, actually, it's not strictly needed. The problem with having an HTML site, and I reviewed that in the chat a few minutes before we started, is that you're going to have to do some of the stuff manually, like, you know, touch the code and stuff like that. So any theme and plugins that you have are okay. They're good. I mean, it's not required for you to have certain plugins or themes. You know, it's up to you. You may have to access your site via FTP. It's not a requirement, but you know, we may touch that. Okay, so some coding and service stuff might be required. We're going to discuss that, you know, over the surface, and perhaps you're going to need it, perhaps not. What you definitely will need is a Google Gmail account. Okay. You're going to need that because we are going to analyze some of the tools out there that Google offers for keywords and all that stuff. Okay, so before we commence, I wanted to speak a little bit about HTML basics, uh, specifically tags. So what are tags? Basically, tags are commands that the browser interprets and renders that to the user's screen. So let me exit over here. And usually brackets start, and let me zoom in on this. So brackets usually start like this, and whatever you put in here, which are valid brackets, of course, they constitute HTML that the browser interprets and parses that into the user. So if I say hello over here, this is what we call an HTML paragraph bracket. So all the stuff that you see on any given website, be this website that I have over here, or this or one over here, all of that renders through brackets. It's one of the main components that the web is based on. It's called HTML brackets. So it's really important that you know this, because there are three brackets, three tags that are really, really important from an SEO perspective, which are your title tags, they are your description tags, and your keyword tags. So to discuss them a little bit, the title tags are, as the name implies, the title of your document. They usually start, the title tags usually are the things that you, whenever you search for something for, let's say, car insurance, if you search for car insurance over here, all these listings that you have, let me zoom in on this, all these listings that you have over here are called your title tags. These are the title tags for each respective website. So Google returns the results, and what you can click on is usually what is added as the title tag. So whenever you go here, and we're going to open this site, and you can search for those. If this is an advanced feature, but you can look into the code and you see this tag over here. Let me zoom in. So you see this tag over here. So what says here, Costa Rican rent-a-car insurance explained, sort of. This is exactly what you see on this, I'm sorry, on this particular text over here. So tags usually are like this, and whatever I put here is my tag. Okay, so tags are really, really, really important, because this is what you are going to title your HTML document, your given web page. So we're not only discussing your web page, homepage, but we're also discussing other pages that are, accessible or available to your website. So every website out there should have a title tag. It should also have what we call a description tag, which is this little description that appears at the bottom, and which more or less describes, hence the words description, what this document is about. So Google usually highlights the keywords that you're looking for in bold. So as you can see here, auto insurance is a Costa Rica, is a government monopoly of et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's also really, really important that you have a description tag. So you can see the description tag over here. I'm looking at the source code of this page, by the way. So description tags usually start with with the tag meta. So you put meta name, and then you put description over here, and then you put the content equals, and then between the commas, double quotes, you can actually put your description over here. So let me make this a little bit bigger. So this is going to be my description. So it's really, really important that you have these tags available on your website, because you are basically helping Google figure out what this document is about. Now, of course, Google is going to scan the rest of your website. It's going to scan the rest of your content, and it's going to more or less infer what the relevance is. So that's more or less how search engines work. So taking this example over here, let me zoom in a little bit. So Google is going to crawl. Think of it as a spider. Google is going to crawl your website, and it's going to grab all the content. It's going to follow all the links, and it's going to fetch that information, and it's going to take it back to Google's servers, which is a lot of them in a lot of places. And with its algorithm, it's going to rank your site or not for any given keywords out there. So that's more or less the gist of how things work. So we are going to work on our website. We're going to use a fictitious example, but we're going to work on a website in a way that we're going to optimize it and we're going to leave it ready for search engines. So these tags are really, really important. The third tag, it's called the keyword tags. Now, back in the day, and I say this a lot because I feel old, the more time passes. Back in the day, Yahoo used to be the first search engine, like the real big first engine out there. And they gave a lot of emphasis on the keyword tags, which is basically the same as this. It's a meta tag, but this here was called keywords. Name was called keywords, and with the content, you just place the keywords out there. Okay, so you separated them by comma. So I said car insurance, car insurance, Costa Rica. So I could fill in my document with all these keywords with it. Now, this used to be important, but it's not anymore. And why is that? Because, because of us humans, we started to what in SEO is called keyword stuffing. We started to put a lot of keywords in there, a lot. So that stopped being relevant. So it was more of an exercise of who could stuff the most keywords in those tags. So Google was the first, actually, was pioneer. They said, we're not going to give relevance to these tags anymore. You can have them, but it's not going to be relevant. So you may have them, you may want to use it, you may not. It's still offered out there, but it's not something that is going to make or break your website, all right? So it's important, and I wanted to explain this because knowing what these three tags is about will help you get your document ready, to optimize it, your website, okay? So the next step is we're going to need some keywords. We're going to need them. So how do we come up with them? Okay, so the first thing I always recommend is first we're going to write some keyword ideas. So what is my business about? I usually, when I start my SEO projects, I write down, hold on. I'm a little, hold on. Something happened to my, I'm sorry. Wait, I have some technical difficulties. Oh. Wait. Oh, I don't know what happened. Sorry. It's just that I put it on full screen and my presentation got stuck. Okay. Here we go. Thank you. So we have type of keywords. Where was I? We have keywords over here. So we need a tool for that. Google offers a tool, and usually when I start an SEO project, I write my keywords down. So we're going to omit this for now. And I usually, what is my business about? So what do I offer? What do I have to offer? So in this case, I'm going to talk about GreenGeeks, of course. So we offer web hosting. We are a hosting company. We are a hosting company. We do web hosting. We do WordPress hosting. We do, what else do we do? We do shared hosting, VPS hosting. So all of those are keyword ideas that I might be interested in preliminary. So we're going to just write them down. You write them down, and then we are going to use a tool that Google offers, which is called the keyword planning tool. You're going to need a Google Gmail account for that, of course. So I'm going to hit, I'm sorry about the Spanish. It's just that Google is so, in your face. They know where I am. So they put that in Spanish. So when you log in, Google is going to open something called the keyword planning tool. So by the way, if you want to access that, you just put in, keyword planner tool, Google keyword planner, and this is going to open the result for Google. Of course, they're going to appear at the first. They're Google after all. So when you click on that, it's going to open the keyword planner tool, and you just log in, and that is that. So you are basically here. Some of you may or may not have this red notice over here at the top. So I'm going to explain that a little bit. The keyword planner tool is basically a tool that is geared towards advertisers because Google, it's a company, right? It makes a lot of money despite the fact that it offers free stuff. So how does Google make money? So if I, for example, go hotels in Costa Rica, I'm sorry I put the Costa Rica, but it's just that I'm really, I'm close to it. No. Let's see, car insurance in Los Angeles. Okay, so if you check over here, it says the word ad, 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 ad. So this keyword planner tool is basically the tool for you to appear at the top as an ad. So a lot of the money, a lot of Google's income is based through these ads. They make a lot of money with advertisement. So this webinar course is not going to be about that. This part about the ads, but you can. It's perfectly doable. You can actually venture into this, and you can actually bid for these keywords. So this works in a way that this site over here, frontlineinsurance.com, they outbid all the others over here. So every time a user clicks on this, it's going to cost them money. So how much does it cost? It depends on the keyword. So the bigger the keyword is, like the more people search for it, the more expensive it's going to be. So this is the bidding process. And the keyword planner tool that Google offers, it's really, really geared towards that. So going back to this red notice over here, they put this red notice because they're asking a credit card. Google needs a credit card on file so that it can start running ads for that particular keyword. Since I don't have one, they're telling me that none of my ads are running. Still, you don't need to use the credit card. They're not going to use it unless you actually bid. But if you want that notice to go away, you're going to have to actually use a credit card on file. So when you are ready, when you are good to go, when you have these ideas all jotted down, you are going to start with keywords. So we're going to do it. So in my situation, we're going to do hosting, and I'm going to do web hosting over here. So English is going to be my default language. Of course, I'm interested in people from the United States, but not just the United States. I am interested in Canada as well. I am interested in England, United Kingdom. I am interested in, well, let's say Ireland. I'm interested in Ireland, and I am interested in Australia. And am I leaving an English-speaking country out there? I'm sorry if I am. Well, I could also have India, which is huge. It's not the main language, but it's also a lot of English-speaking people. So let's say I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to save this. And also, by the way, you could also you could use this as a filter, as Google says, to filter out services, products, and brands that you don't offer. For now, I'm going to leave that blank. If you don't know, or if you are not sure about what keywords to put here, you can start with a website. So basically, you put a URL here. You can use your competitors if you want, and Google is more or less going to infer what this is about, and it's going to suggest you the ideas. All right, but in my situation, I'm pretty sure. So I'm good to go, and I will say, okay, get me to the results. Okay, so this is going to think a little, this is going to jot, and it's going to throw you a report that looks similar to this. It's going to give you the average monthly searches. It's a range. It's going to give you the competition, and it's going to give you how much it costs per click to be either at the top of the page or going to be at the very, very, very top. So as you can see, some keywords are really, really expensive. Like, for example, this one over here, web hosting. This is a keyword that is going to cost you $23 more or less every time you click at the top. So I'm not saying this from a money perspective that, we are going to bid. I'm more or less saying that the higher the number, the more competitive this keyword actually is. So what am I really looking for here? I am looking for something that has a lot of monthly searches and has a low competition, and also that is relevant to my business. Okay, so when I look at this, I'm looking at this report. Like, for example, Hostinger has between 100,000 and 1,000,000 a month. That's a lot of traffic. But then I got to ask my question. Let's say I'm the CEO of GreenGeeks, and I say, or I'm doing the SEO, and I'm saying, is Hostinger something relevant to my business? It's not really that relevant. I mean, I don't know what Hostinger really is. So why do I want to, emphasize on this keyword? It's not something that is relevant to my business. This, for example, my blue hosting, also, it's not really relevant. So SiteGround, neither. Gator hosting isn't either. So, I could actually, my objective here is to find keywords that are both relevant to my business that have a high, relatively high monthly searches a month, and that whose competition is either medium to low. Okay, so this is really what I'm looking for. So I'm going to scroll, and I'm not going to do that because it's going to take a lot of time. So in the end, you should have a report that looks similar to this. And let me zoom in this a little bit. So in here, oh, sorry. In here, I have a report in which I took it from Google, this keyword planning tool, and this is going to give me all the keywords. And the searches, what I usually do is I come up with a range that's pretty much in the middle between this. So between 100,000 and a 60,000, 10,000 and 100,000, 60,000 is more or less the average. So I write down the competition. Is it low? Is it high? And another thing that I do, and this is something that I do on my own, I actually Google this keyword. So I go and type search hosting, shared hosting, I'm sorry, and I take a look at the results. How this number over here, this number over here, this number will tell me how many pages are actually competing for this keyword. So I write this down in this report over here. So this number is different. I did it on a different computer, so Google throws different numbers, but it still will give you a good idea. So I write that number down for all of these keywords. And in the end, with my Excel sheet, what I do is I divide the amount of searches via its listings. So that will give me a coefficient. And the higher this number, or the closer it is to 1, the more comfortable I think, or the less competition I'm going to have for that particular keyword. So if you take a look at this report that I did quickly, you could see that the best, or the most suitable keyword in my scenario would be, as GreenGeeks, would be fastest WordPress hosting, because it's around 6,000 people searching for it, and it's only 3 million websites competing for it. So, you know, that's something that in internet terms is doable. So as you can see here, it's 3,650,000 results. So I could say, man, I could definitely do that. As a company, I could perhaps do it. So if you go over here, the web hosting companies, the number one at the fourth spot, is by far the worst, because it's basically like 6,000 searches a month, but it's a number so high, I can't even spell this here, but it's a huge number. And the coefficient that it's going to give me, it's going to be really, really low. So even though this might be interesting, I might do it, the competition is way too high. And I always encourage people, whenever they are starting, you want to start with the fruits that are hanging the lowest. And as you get better and better, you can actually change your tactic and say, okay, now I'm going to go towards the bigger keywords out there. I'm going to change my campaign. I'm going to see how this is going to pan out. So, you know, have that and do that exercise and write that down. And in the end, try to narrow it down to 10 keyword ideas, and have it in your Excel sheet. Go take a walk, think about it, you know, because you are going to have a strategy. You're going to have a strategy as to how are you going to implement your website if you don't have one, or if you do, how are you going to suit your website so that it's fully optimized for those particular keywords, okay? So it's really important that you have a tool. Now, you don't necessarily need to use Google Keyword Planner tool. There's also other tools out there that are far more suitable for organic SEO. Okay, organic SEO is the process on which you don't have to pay. So these ads over here, they are not organic, they are paid. Okay, so these are definitely organic, and these over here, when these are the organic ones. So these are the number ones. These are the people that actually did their SEO efforts in order to appear first for car insurance in Los Angeles. So use a tool. You can use the Keyword Planner tool. There's also other tools out there, like, for example, Ahrefs, which is the one I use. I don't know why I don't have it. I should have. So I'm going to install that. And let me see. I need to log in. And there we go. Okay, cool. Excellent. So I use Ahrefs. It's one of the best tools out there. There's also SEO Moz and SEM Rush, I think. So these companies, and there's also Word Tracker. So these tools, aside from giving you the whole SEO kind of thing, as far as keywords are concerned, they will also give you other ideas or tools that you're going to need to monitor your progress. So, if you want to do that, you can do it. It's not going to be for free. You're going to have to pay, but those tools are out there. So the second item that I usually check are ads and competition. I completely forgot to do this, competition. So I check also if there are, ads running. So what did I do with the okay, so here I check for ads. So usually whenever I see ads for a particular keyword, that means it's competitive. It's highly competitive. It's people that are bidding for it. So they are definitely paying the money. So on top of bidding, there's also a lot of competition down here to appear first. So I write it down, and let's say web hosting companies. And if I search for that, it's going to give me something that's close to Costa Rica. I need something that is close to the US. How do I do that? See tools. I need results to be, hold on. I need my results to be local. Search settings. Let's see. Do not, languages. Well, the thing is, I am actually close with language to English. Show more. Okay. Okay. WordPress. Yeah, the thing is, I'm since it knows I'm in Costa Rica, it's gonna give me the stuff. But the thing is, what I wanted to say is, always search for ads and see how many ads are out there. Again, if you look for this number over here, this is 200. This is 263 million results. It's a high number. And if you see a lot of ads, it's an indicator that it's a lot of competition, and perhaps you don't want to start or you don't want to use that keyword because it's just too much. Okay. Another thing that I usually check is I check for the websites that are listing at the top, like who's listing number one, and I open them and I take a look at them and see how well they are. Are they Fortune 500 companies? Are they big companies or not? I say this because if you are competing against a Fortune 500 company, chances are they're going to have an SEO marketing team in place, and they're going to have people that do this from Monday to Friday with a staff that is huge, and they just have the resources to do this that most of us do not. So it's best to not compete at that level because it's going to be really, really, really hard. It's going to be really difficult to do that. So if you click on these listings over here and you start seeing the sites, you are going to say, okay, is this a professional website? Is this something that was designed by a professional or not? If most of them are, or all of them, chances are they're doing the SEO, either in-house or they're outsourced that stuff. So again, that's another indicator that it's maybe best to steer away from that particular keyword. Okay, so I check them out and I see, okay, can I do this? Yes or no, based on what I see as listings of number one. Like for example, this one over here, this is a very well designed professional website. From the looks of it, it looks to me like it's an affiliate website. It's an affiliate website. So affiliates, hosting affiliates, usually they are pretty serious about SEO because they make up money based on who they refer, to hosting companies. So I could say, okay, this guy, it's going to be hard to beat him. Okay. And going back to our example of car rentals in Costa Rica, car rental in Costa Rica, again, you could actually see and make a deduction. You see, it's budget, it's Avis, it's Adobe Car, it's Alamo. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be a little bit difficult. They are big house, there are big companies out there. Okay. Another thing that I look, these are just guides. I mean, there are no hard and fast rules They just help you to assess the situation and make you come up with a decision as to what your keywords are going to be. Okay, I also install a search bar, which I did. I use the Ahrefs ones over here. So this is going to give me these little stats that you see here, because if I'm going to open a different browser, I'm going to open Chrome. Let me open Chrome. So if I open Chrome and I use car rental Costa Rica and I open it in Chrome, see, this is going to have ads. And why is this in Dutch? Oh, that's really weird. Well, I don't know. Maybe it was an ad mistake. Okay, yeah, I speak Dutch, so I recognized it. So why? My point was, as you can see, the listings that I have over here, they don't have this information here, which is page, UR, BL, all that stuff. So whenever you install these search bars, I think they are for free. I'm not completely sure. But when you install these bars, there's two things I want you to take a look at. If you want to take a look at the UR, which is the page URL ranking for it. In this case, it's 22. It's on a scale from 100 to 1 to 100. And the root domain, the domain reputation. Now, some of you may remember the phrase PageRank. That used to be big about 10 years ago. It was, what was my PageRank? What's my reputation on the web? So reputation is really important. We're going to get to there when we discuss backlinks. But basically, what I want you to look is what is the domain rank? What is the URL rank of these sites that rank as first? Because as you can see, you know, some of them are high and some of them are not so high. How many you know, what do they have to offer? So if, for example, if I go to insurance over here, let's say I am interested in going with insurance as my keyword. If I go over here and I see Wikipedia as #1, and you see that their domain reputation is 96, you're going to be like, okay, that's definitely not going to work. You know, that's definitely not going to work because, well, I don't want to shoot down your efforts. I like all of you, but going up against Wikipedia, it's going to be an impossible task. So my key takeaway here is that look at these domain ranks. I mean, this is 91. That's huge domain. This is 91. This is 81. This is 73. So it's really, really, really high. So again, you see this number, you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't go for it. But if you see a domain rank, like for example, insurance Costa Rica. If you go insurance Costa Rica and you scroll down and you see, okay, 62 is still high, but you see this one over here, 38. You see 50. You see this one, 8. I mean, you're like, okay, this is definitely doable. I can definitely appear, you know, somewhere up there. So you're looking at this and you are making a decision. Again, there's no hard, fast rule. You just need to analyze the data. You need to perhaps write this down here. You can add your columns to write, you know, what the domain ranks of your competitors is. You know, come up with information that is going to allow you to have a bird's eye view of what your strategy is going to be. Okay, so a search bar will help you tremendously with it because this is going to give you the results, you know, whenever you search for it. Okay. The fourth item is what's my information architecture. So if you were in our previous webinar, we discussed what the information architecture is of your website. Information architecture is just a fancy word of what my sitemap is. So I have the home page, but what else do I have? What other pages does my website have? So this is important because, and we're going to take a look at, for example, this over here. This is a fictitious web site. So they have the home page, they have careers, they have privacy policy, contact, about us, and services, and they have service 1, service 2, service 3. So this is the information architecture for this particular website. I can't really infer what the business is about, but you should have one. You should have an information architecture. It should be a diagram that looks like this because this is going to help you divide your content in a logical manner. Now, why is this useful? This is going to be useful because perhaps you have different keyword ideas and you have different keywords that you might be interested in. But realistically speaking, you cannot stuff all of these and rank #1 for all of these. on your homepage. You're gonna need some support. And I like to think of SEO as a pyramid thing, because you put the base at the bottom and you start working your way up and narrowing it down. And you know, your website is more or less exactly like this. So you could ask yourself, okay, maybe I can do fastest WordPress hosting on my homepage, but perhaps I could use WordPress plans, even though the coefficient is really low, for a secondary landing page on my website. So let's say if we go at GreenGeeks, for example, if we go at GreenGeeks, I have to use this a lot, I'm sorry. So if we go to hosting over here, perhaps when I click on hosting, I want to target, or this over here, WordPress hosting. So I have WordPress hosting. This is the landing page we have for WordPress hosting. So perhaps I want to target WordPress plans within my WordPress hosting page. So again, a diagram will help you do that. And if you look at our website over here, it's designed, it's really a landing page. It's really a landing page about WordPress hosting, about what we offer. And obviously we have our own strategy as far as SEO is concerned, and we have an SEO team that does that. But my thing is, we can't realistically say, oh, I'm going to include WordPress hosting in my homepage. I'm going to include shared hosting. I'm going to include all of it. It's really, really difficult to do that. So take a look at your information architecture. What is your information architecture? How can you integrate that into those keywords so you can actually, you know, start distributing them all through your website? Now, you're going to need a design that supports this, because this layout over here, it's vastly different than this layout. So you're going to need either a designer to do that, or you can find a theme that does this for you, that you can have a nice landing page built towards converting people. So our objective here is pretty simple. I mean, people land on this WordPress hosting website, and we want you to get signed up. Our objective here is for you to get started and start hosting your WordPress website with us. So again, tie your business objective with those particular keywords. Make sure that they're relevant and that people can actually do that within that landing page. So that's really, really important. We already discussed this, divide searches by results. So this is the number that appears at the top, this one over here. This will give me a good number as to what my keyword coefficient is. We are looking for a high coefficient, a number that is close to, or as close as it can be to 1. Okay, and the last item, use Pro Tools. I already mentioned that. There's Ahrefs, that's SEO Moz, SEMrush, Word Tracker. You know, those tools will help you tremendously, because they are going to give you the whole report, the whole shebang, the whole insight that you are going to need to make decisions based on those keywords, and to find opportunities that perhaps other companies that aren't doing SEO for your particular industry. And that will give you an opportunity to bring in more revenue, more traffic, and thus more revenue. So that's really, it's worth looking into it, okay? So my next slide is going to be about types of keywords. So there are different types of keywords. The first one is broad keywords. So when I say broad, think of a net. It's really, really wide. So let's go back into our insurance, or let's type in football, okay? If I type football, I'm going to type football, okay? I type football, and this is going to open images of maybe American football, maybe the other football. Sorry, to me, that is the real one. The players, a definition about what football is in Wikipedia. ESPN, it offers news. BBC, news, videos about football. So Sky, which offers TV. So as you can see, I just described, I don't know how many businesses, I don't know how many industries that are related to football. So that's why it's too broad. What do I mean by football? Do I want to look at pictures of football? Do I want to see videos? Do I want to see football news? Do I want to buy football stuff? What am I doing? So what is my definition here? So keywords that are broad, usually they don't convert really well because it's too broad. You don't know what the intent of your users is. So I always recommend steering away from them, because yeah, they're really enticing in the fact that a lot of people search for them. I'm pretty sure a lot of people search for them all everywhere. But as you can see with this number over here, again, this should really discourage you from doing that, because this is a number so big I can't even spell it. It's a it's a big number. So it's one of the biggest numbers. So yeah, it could give you a lot of results, but it's too broad. Again, you have Wikipedia at the top, a definition, and it's just too many interests working for it. So it's out there. You can try if you want, but I highly discourage you to do that. So the next is going to be phrases keywords. Hold on. Phrases keyword. So phrases keyword are a little bit different from broad keywords in a way that it's usually 2 to 3 words. They convert well because they are specific, you know. So look at that. See if how well they do. Repeat this process again. So if we look at my keyword ideas over here, I have all of these are definitely phrases. They're phrases. So again, I repeat the process, and I see how well what the results are. Because if, for example, I go here, cPanel WordPress, and I do that, there's going to be an ad. There's going to be an ad. There's going to be videos, tutorial as to how to do that. WordPress.org is going to be listing here. So again, I think despite the fact that it's a phrase keyword, the results are too broad. I'm being given too many stuff to go to, and it's just not good. It's not specific enough. I don't know what the intent is whenever people search for this. So if you don't know the intent, it's best just not to do it. Okay, so the next one would be long tail keywords. So long tail keywords are keywords that are 4 words or more. They are even more specific than phrases, and it's people who are ready to do something. So if I, for example, go, it's not the same typing Nike running shoes. It's not the same typing Nike running shoes than typing Nike running shoe, Nike flat feet, Nike running shoes for flat feet women's. So if you take a look at these two, okay, one of them is going to have a lot of results, 174 million results. This is going to have only 18 million. So this word over here, it's really specific. I am interested in knowing about Nike running shoes for flat women, for flat feet that are for women. So in here, my intent is really clear. I am searching for that. I'm looking for that. So I could perhaps list for that. And if I click over here, this is going to open me an article that is going to give me a review of what they are. So I can read the review, I can look at them, and I can actually buy them right there. So this keyword is it's really nice because, again, the amount of searches is low. I don't see a lot of ads. I am competing against Nike, which is a little difficult. But again, you know, it might be suitable. It's something that you're going to have to look at the keyword planning tool, and you're going to have to make a decision whether this is enticing or not. But the thing is, you know, the thing for you to remember is that long tail keywords are very specific. So like, for example, best Nike shoes for flat feet 2020, which I don't think it's a good keyword because, well, actually, I don't know. Are people running with this? I don't even know. Here in Costa Rica, a lot of people are. So maybe it could be, you know. Again, Shoe Kicker comes up with number 1. They have this thing over here. We're not going to discuss this in the webinar. It has to do with schema. But, you know, again, you see this, you analyze that. Okay, very well fit, has a domain ranking of 84. You more or less infer if this is worth your time or not. Okay, the next one is the buyer keyword. So buyer keywords are for me, they're the best. So they are for someone who is ready to buy. So they use adjectives that are cheap, good, best. So whenever they do that, they are looking for something. They are ready to make a decision. So I use the word here, best. I didn't know I was using a buyer keyword. So a buyer keyword is that. So cheap, or no, best WordPress hosting. hosting. So best WordPress hosting for 2020. So that means that my intent is to see what the best companies for WordPress hosting are. I'm going to read the listings that I have over here, and I'm going to make a decision. I am ready to buy WordPress hosting. So these keywords, whenever there's an objective that is closely tied to buying something, then you definitely want to take a look. So I don't know if client of mine is watching. I'll give him a tip, like best bird watching tours. You see, best bird watching tours Costa Rica is another one. So as you can see, only 1 million people compete for that. That's really, really low. In Costa Rica, we have a lot of bird watching tours. We have a lot of birds because there's a lot of jungle and whatnot. So it's a really type of interesting niche tourism kind of thing. So a lot of people travel and they go into the jungle and they take a lot of pictures of the birds and they see the birds. It's a whole subject that it's an interesting subject. So the thing is, this is really specific, and this clearly has the intent that I want to see what the best tours are, so I can make a decision and I can make a purchase decision, a service decision based on that. Okay, so that's really, really a good keyword to think about, the buyer keywords. Now, the information keyword, this is has to do a lot with how-tos, with tutorials. It converts a little bad because I am looking for information as to how to do something. My intent, my relevance is not really to buy something. So these information keywords are usually good for blog posts. You could perhaps post your service strategically in them. What do I mean by that? If we go to our shoes example over here, Nike running shoes, no. This one over here. So this one over here, this to me is a blog post, and actually it is. If you look at the URL here, this is the blog post, right? And this is a tutorial. This is basically like an informative article as to what the best shoes, flat feet shoes are for Nike. But they have this over here. They have this little search bar over here. It's really meticulously inserted that allows you to do that like straight away. So if you have that capability of adding your services like that or your products, then yeah, you could perhaps look for it and search, rank for that particular keyword and, convert some of that traffic into actual customers. Now, where can I get answers as to what people are searching for? There's two ways I usually look. I can look at either answertherepublic.com or I could go to Yahoo Answers. So I could also go to Quora. That's also an interesting site. Now, by this, I mean, don't copy what they say there. Just make sure you answer what people are asking in there. So if, for example, we go to Answer the Republic, I'm going to go over here. Don't get scared by the guy. He's scary. I don't know why they added it. But for example, if we go to, let's type pizza recipes. Okay, I type pizza recipes. And this is it's going to take a while. It's going to gather the data. But what this site is interesting, there's not a lot of questions. No, so I'm going to go back. I'm going to have to use our industry, web hosting. Okay, so I'm going to go with web hosting. I'm going to open web hosting. And let's wait. Okay, so you can see what people are asking here. People are asking is, who is the best web hosting service? Who is the best web hosting company? Who is hosting web pages or web page? Who is web hosting server? That's not a very good question. What web hosting company should I use? So these answers are going to give you like article ideas. Remember I said about my information architecture? Well, your blog post, your blog constitutes part of your website. So you could actually answer questions here. You can educate people. You can be an authority as far as knowledge is concerned, and you can offer that. And at the same time, put your services here and there, put your products here and there, so that you can actually grab, and we call that juice. You can grab that juice and convert. Okay, so this is a really good resource out there. Also Yahoo Answers. Yahoo Answers, I'm not going to go, but you know, Yahoo Answers it's really old, and you can go there and you can ask questions, and you can see what people are asking. So let's say you have a I don't know, a dating website. How do I know if how do I know if she likes me? Okay, so you can do that. So you can see what the questions are, and you can more or less say, okay, I'm going to offer a tutorial about that. And at the same time, my dating website is going to have this banner over here. So the key idea for you is to think about that and think about what questions can you actually answer. And you're going to probably, you know, list your stuff out there, and it might compete, you know, it might convert, it might do well. You never know. So it's good for you to use that. I see a lot, and it's not meant as a criticism. I see that a lot of people have blogs sometimes, but they don't actually use it. And so they're missing out on that. You know, I really believe that, because who knows about your industry more than you do? Well, I'm sure there's a lot, but you have something to offer. You have something to say. You can answer the questions yourself with your experience. So, you know, why not just put your thoughts out there and see how much traffic that brings you? Okay, so that's really, really positive and good. Along with the good comes the bad. So, wait, what happens? Cancel. So one of the worst keywords is the tire kicker keywords. And tire kicker keywords means that people who are not going to buy anything, they're not going to buy off you. So what do I mean by that? So I mean hosting for free. Let's use that example, because we're talking about hosting a lot today. So hosting for free. So this is going to open a lot of websites. They're going to offer, there's going to be sites that are going to offer free hosting. Yeah, are they out there? Absolutely. But are they profitable? I really don't know. But if you search for these listings, you're going to notice that are the companies that we as a hosting provider compete against, they're not there. And the reason is simple. I mean, if we offered free hosting to everybody, our business is just not sustainable from the perspective that we're going to have to convert people who signed up for free to paying customers. And answer yourself the question, I mean, why am I going to pay if the free stuff just does it? So it's really, it's not a, unless you have the energy and you want to do the effort to do that, and you might be worth your stretch. But usually when people want something for free, they don't want to, they just don't want to buy, you know. And it's just, for me, it's just personally, I think it's a difficult momentum to actually make those people convert. So if you want to do that, absolutely do that. But I definitely recommend that tire kicker keywords. They're just not worth it. I mean, they're not going to buy it no matter how good you do your stuff. Okay. And the last thing, the suggested keywords. So if you notice, obviously Google suggests things, you could perhaps write these down and see how well they do. Okay. At the very bottom, usually at search engine results page, you have them as well. So you could write these down. You could put them in the report here, or you could just follow them. I'm sorry, and see how well they do. I mean, it's up to you, really. I mean, the choices are endless, and you know, you can work your way up and see if it's worth your stretch. The suggested keywords. Okay, so that takes care of keywords. So now I'm going to talk about hosting. You know, a good solid hosting solution matters. Now I'm not going to do advertising here. Don't worry about it. But it's really important that you guys know that a good hosting solution absolutely matters when it comes to SEO. It's really, really important. If there's a company out there that has to hold your hand in this effort, it's going to be your hosting company. Why do I say that? I say that because out of three reasons. The first is going to be your uptime. So if your hosting company doesn't have a solid uptime, I think that relationship needs to end, because you are doing all this effort to bring in the traffic and your website is down. Like, imagine if you're ranking number one and you bring in like 50 to 60,000 visitors to your website, and your hosting solution just doesn't do it for you, they go down. It's traffic that you're losing, it's business that you're losing, and it's ultimately money that it's costing you. So I always recommend going with a company that offers a good uptime. How many times has it gone down? Because of factors that are that are actually responsibility of the hosting company, not because your site got hacked. It's a completely different thing. Which brings me to my next item: security. How secure are they? Do they notify you when they see security breaches to your website or not? Uh, do they have a team in place that scans your stuff and says, listen, you have a problem, you have a vulnerability, you need to fix it? And do they have someone like that? What happens if you get hacked? What happens if you get compromised because of an error that you did on your site? Does this hosting company offer you backup solutions or not? Do you have them? Is it easy to do that? What's up with that? I think a lot of things in life are revealed in troubled times or in emergency times. So I would say that having your stuff down is an emergency, and is your hosting company going to be there for you? So of course, all of that I just said we do. So the last item that's really, really important is speed. How fast is your hosting company? Now, when I say speed, I don't want you to think about, you should get a dedicated server that's state of the art for your website. There are shared hosting solutions out there that are pretty fast. I think ours is. There's also other companies that have, and there's others that don't. So how fast is it? So think of the metrics here. Think about how fast it does, because speed is one of the factors that contribute to you doing well in SEO. So that's more or less the three things that you are going to need as far as hosting concerned. Actually, it's not the same, not all, but we'll get there in a minute, in a bit. The second item I want to highlight is on domain purchases. You might be starting new, and you might be all eager and like, oh yeah, I'm really pumped about doing this. And I have some bad news for you. Usually when you start out, Google will hold you back for a bit. They're going to hold you back. It's called the sandbox period, and that exists because nobody really knows who you are and what your intentions are going to be. So if you want to speed that up a little bit, I always recommend purchasing domains for at least 2 years or more, because that way you can more or less say, okay, my intentions are real. I am purchasing for a long time. I want to do this for the long haul, because usually sites that are, they're not doing anything good here, they usually purchase it for the first year, because that's the minimum that you can get. So I always recommend, especially if you're starting out, to do it for 2 or more years. Okay. The third item I want to speak is SSL certificate. You're going to need one for SEO purposes. It's good for SEO. Remember what I said about your users. It's good for your users. Now, what does an SSL certificate do? It basically encrypts the information that is sent back and forth between the browser user and the server. So it can't be intercepted. Now, with credit cards, this is mandatory, but also recently, I think it's like 2 or 3 years ago, Google started to give a little bit more of a bump to people who use the certificate. So I do recommend that you install one. It depends on your hosting provider as to how to do it. For people who are customers with us, you can go to greengeeks.com. You can log in to your GreenGeeks, to your dashboard. And sorry, let's see. I'm already logged in. So the security thing over here, there's a security. Oh, what happened? Oh, my session expired. So there's a security feature over here. You just click on the Add SSL certificate. You select the service, which in case it's going to be your hosting provider, you're going to select your domain, and you follow this wizard over here to install it. Now it's really easy. It's absolutely free, and you should be done in a couple of minutes if all goes well. I definitely recommend you doing this if you haven't, and that way you're going to have an SSL that's going to be free. The last item I wanted to discuss is the HTTP2 protocol. Now, if you can get a hosting provider that supports this out of the box, that would be fantastic. Now, what does this protocol mean? I have to go back into history a little bit, but when the web was conceived, the protocol, the internet protocol, when you browse on the web, it's called HTTP when you go from one page to the other. And how it works is that whenever you go to a website and you're like, okay, I'm going to greengeeks.com and I'm going to ask the server, can you please give me this file? Server, can you please give me this image? Server, can you please give me this JavaScript file? So all of that is information that goes back and forth, and that's called latency. That's called latency. So for a few files, it might not be a problem because it takes a few milliseconds. I think it's like 50 or so. For a few files, it's not much of a problem. But if you multiply this 50 milliseconds by, for example, 100 requests, like 100 of these calls, you multiply 50 by 100, you're going to have, you know, a latency that might be a little bit high. So in order to reduce that, you can either do something that's called domain sharding, or you can actually start using the HTTP2 protocol, which is a protocol that it's into place for a couple of years ago. Most modern browsers support it. And what it basically does is that instead of making all those calls, asking for all those things, it just makes a giant call and say, hey, listen, GreenGeeks, can you give me this, this, and it's going to give you everything in one call. So to know if your website supports it or not, go to, you could actually type in Google, is my website HTTP2? You go over here and there's this little tool here called, I'm going to put this over here, tools. This is called tools.keycdn.com and /HTTP2-test. So in here, you can type what your website is. Like, for example, if I type in my website, which is this one, I can test. And yeah, my HTTP2 protocol is supported. But if I go to another website, let's say this one over here, it's going to tell me that no, it doesn't. It's not. So make sure that your website supports the HTTP2 protocol, because that's going to make your experience even faster. Okay, and you're getting ready for the future. So that takes care of the hosting thing. So now we are going to go into WordPress. Okay, we are finally going to go into WordPress. So what plugins are we going to need? We're going to need an SEO plugin for that. Remember what I said about the tags, about the title, the description, and the keyword tags. So with WordPress, you can do that with a plugin. They allow you to insert that. So an SEO plugin is really, really useful. Now, to do that, and let's go GG over here. I'm going to go to my website and the demo website that I have. And I think I already had it open. Yeah, I did. I go over here and go over here. I go to plugins. I go plugins over here and I add new. And when I type, I already have them, but you may want to do this when you're doing it. So I type in SEO and two flavors are going to come. Yoast and all-in-one SEO pack. Now, I'm not going to start a debate as to which one I recommend. They both essentially do the same. They just have different ways of doing it. I honestly prefer the all-in-one SEO pack. I feel more comfortable with it. Okay, so what these plugins allow you to do is they allow you to do all the SEO stuff out of the box. And they allow you to edit the title tags, edit the description tags, and add the keyword tags for all your pages within your WordPress installation. So that's way better than going into your code like this, and just adding this garble over here with an editor and going into your FTP server and saving that stuff. If you guys don't have a WordPress installed or a content management system, you're going to have to do it manually. You're going to have to insert the tags manually for every website. So it's far better to manage that using WordPress with one of the plugins. So in this case, I'm going to go with the all-in-one SEO pack. Again, you can follow along if you're using Yoast, but that's up to you. Okay. The second plugin we're going to need, and it's not really necessarily, I mean, it is and it isn't. It's a sitemap. Sitemaps come in two flavors. Now, what is a sitemap? So whenever Google goes to your website and crawls it, it's going to follow all the links like a spider, you know, like the Matrix, remember? And it's going to grab them all and it's going to take that information back into Google. So a sitemap, it's basically a file that sits on your server, and it basically gives you the list. It gives Google the listings of all the web pages that you have available for your particular website. So Google looks for it and says, oh, it's here. So it's going to grab that information and alongside with everything that it crawls, and it takes it back. It just makes it easier for Google or any other search engines out there to to fetch your content. Okay. The other reason that the other thing that these plugins do is they generate a sitemap page for you. Now, I'm not gonna say yes or no to this. Some people like to have a sitemap web page on their website where it's gonna have all the links that they have available, so that in theory people could browse through those links. But from a user perspective, and you gotta ask yourself, you gotta be honest about this. I mean, when was the last time you actually, went to a sitemap to search for something? Usually, we either scan the page to find what we're looking for, or we use a search feature to get us the information that we need. Now, you may want to use this, you may not. I mean, it doesn't hurt, but again, it's really up to you. Okay, the second is the SSL force. I say this because sometimes, and it happens, that people add the certificate later when their website is up, and they use what I just show you at GreenGeeks. And the problem with this is that you may have your website already running, and some of the assets, be this images, files, and stuff of that, they are already as HTTP. Like, the difference between secure and non-secure is this little thing over here, the HTTP and HTTPS. Okay, so some of the assets that you have on the website may be already in HTTP, so you need to actually convert them. You need to force WordPress to write them in a secure manner. So what I usually do is I type in SSL, and I usually install this little plugin. This is a little, it's already installed. It's called Really Simple SSL. So this plugin, what it does is it's gonna load, it's gonna make sure that everything that I do within my WordPress site is or will have the SSL, the secure thing to it. So how do I know if my thing is working or not? Whenever I go to a website, I just click on the lock here, and it should be green, like the connection is secure and all the assets, all the things that loaded are loaded securely. So I recommend doing that, of course, so that your entire site is SSL ready. Okay, the fourth item, which is really important, you're going to need a speed plugin. Now, what do I mean by speed? By speed, there's a couple of ways of gathering speed. But one thing that people use a lot is called caching. It's called disk caching. So the way the web works is that you go from one website to the other, and you download the resources. You ask for the server to give you the resources of it. And in WordPress, it's particularly interesting because it uses a database. It uses a database. I think I explained that in first webinar. It uses a database to fetch your content. So it needs to make a connection to your database, and it needs to, handle that stuff and give that to you. So think of the menus, widgets, plugins, posts, all that information. Those are database connections. So to expedite this, there's something called a disk caching technique. So instead of asking the database and asking WordPress to give you all that stuff, you can ask directly WordPress, hey, do you have like a copy of this, old copy of this available to you? And WordPress will look and say, oh yeah, I do. So it's going to give you a copy of it. It's going to give you something that's already stored in their files, in their disk, and it's going to give you that instead of grabbing all that content. So this gives the impression that the website is tremendously fast because it's giving you a copy of it. Now, when I said copy, I meant that the copy was taken at a given time, usually past, after the copy was made. So if you publish new content, that content might not get updated, and thus Google might not see content that is being updated. So caching has that downside that depending on how you configure it, it might not have the latest content available. So I do recommend you installing one, but just make sure you decide how often do you want to cache your website or not. Busy websites usually do it once or twice a day, but websites that don't get updated a lot, they usually do it once a week or so. You can always, of course, delete your cache, whenever you do new content or whenever you publish new content. And that way, when the next visitor who's going to land in your website is going to grab that copy, in, that copy of freshly generated cash. I wanted to say all of this because speed is really, really important from a user perspective and obviously from a search engine perspective, because nobody likes a website. You don't like that. I don't like it. Google doesn't like it. So you can go with any of these, cache plugins. Again, following my first webinar, make sure you go with the one you feel the most comfortable with. Now, I feel the most comfortable with this one, the W3 Total Cache, and I feel very comfortable with this one, which is done by Automatic, which is the company behind WordPress. I feel comfortable with either two of them. I have never used this one or this one. I would say that by far, this one is the most complete out there. You can find tutorials as to how to configure it. I mean, it's super, super fast, and that will make your website faster or not, really fast. Even it will give you a boost. So how do I know if my website is slow or not? Well, obviously you could go to your website and see how fast it loads, but you could also go to Pingdom. It's called Pingdom. It's this tool over here. It's called tools at pingdom.com. I'm going to put this here in my notepad so you guys take a look. It's tools.pingdom.com. And in here, you can analyze your website. You can analyze pretty much any website that you want. So I'm going to open on both sides so you can actually see what I mean. So for example, I'm going to go with my website. It's called webmentor.cr. Wait, wait. Okay, I just need to copy this. Okay, so I'm going to go with here. I'm going to analyze this. Make sure you analyze it from a close location, relatively close from where you are. So my closest would be either Washington, D.C. or Sao Paulo. I think it's pretty much the same. So I start the test, and I'm going to do a competitor of mine here, just so you guys can take a look at how well you stack up. So, okay. Okay, so we're going to do this one. We're going to do the same. We're going to do it from Washington, and we're going to analyze both. So this is going to give you a report. In my case, I have a B. I wish I could have A. I need to do some tweaks out there. But the important part here is for you to look, aside from your score, of course, you want to see what your page size is. So in my case, it's 590 kilobytes. That means it's really fast. I think I did a good job. So the load time is under a second. That's 667 milliseconds. And the requests are 42. Remember the whole thing I said about calling, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me this. So if you compare it to a competitor that I have, which is not even done yet, let's wait a little bit. Okay, so if you scroll down, it's going to give you like all the things that it recommends. Now, in my case, I am failing because I am not caching. I am not caching. It's really important to know. I forgot to do that. I should get on that. I'm not caching. So if I cache, I'm sure this is going to be even faster. Okay. So this, I don't even know what happened here. So this will give you all the things that you're doing correct. And it's going to give you a lowdown of what's consuming the most resources on your site. In this case, it's images. In my case, it's images. You could, if you, for example, see the images, you could say, oh, maybe I can compress the images that I already have. Yeah, you could. You could compress images that you already have. You could either do that with a plugin. You need to look for plugin image compressor plugins that do that. They do it on the fly, meaning that they will do it when you upload the images, or you could do the prep work yourself. Personally, I prefer to use the prep work myself because that way I'm relying less on a plugin. So for images, I usually go to tinyjpeg.com. It's a cute little panda. It's this one here, tinyjpeg.com. I usually go there and I just drag my stuff before I upload it into WordPress. So if, for example, let's take a look at one of my images over here. If, where am I? I had an image of myself. Huh. Let me see. Where am I? Where am I? Let's say this. No, where am I? I'm here. Okay, so okay, I'm here. So if I drag this over here, this is going to compress. So this is 152 kilobytes, and I downloaded it to 110. Now you may say, oh, it's just for 40 kilobytes, but 40 here, 40 there, 50 here, 50 there, you are starting to make a difference. So you are cutting a little bit of fat in there, and that's always positive, you know. Who doesn't want to do that? And so you could, it works for both JPEG and PNGs. For PNGs, be careful because some PNGs are heavy. Like for example, this one is 505, and watch when I run this tool, it's going to compress it, and it's down to 133. That's like a 400 kilobyte savings. That's quite some, you know. That's something that you can't overlook. I know part of our workflow. I know that we're busy, and I know we're doing stuff like, you know, boom, 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 boom. But you know, being thoughtful about your users is good, and it's good for your SEO because you are compressing this like to the bare minimum. And this is not, by the way, this is not going to reduce the quality of your files. Okay, so once you're ready, you can download these images and then you can upload them into WordPress. So let's see if this result is done. Whoops, something went wrong. So let's go back. And let's do this again. Do I have it? No. Let's do that again. I just wanted to show you because it's really important, and this way you can have a clear idea, because because when you see that, you see decisions, you see work done or work not. You may be delegating this SEO part to someone, but you can use these tools to check to make sure that your SEO team is doing that. Okay, so this is a competitor of mine, and they get a C. They get 74. As you can see, this is their biggest culprit. This is 2.4 megabytes, whereas I have 590 kilobytes. So I could actually, my size, website size, is a fourth. It's 25% of their size, okay? Their load time is 2 seconds almost, whereas mine is almost half a second. And the requests, and this is where you see the difference. I made 42 requests on my website, but these guys made 129. That's 129 calls, people. That's a lot of calls. That's a lot of calls. So that is going to create some latency. No matter how good your hosting is, you can have a bulletproof hosting. You can have the fastest. You can buy a dedicated server. If you have these things, they are, you know, they are stalling your efforts quite a bit. Okay, and in here you can see, and as you can see, their biggest culprit is their image. And if we go, and if I actually open this website, I can analyze it, and I can tell you straight away, it's these images over here. These images, they are too big, they are too heavy, and you have to ask yourself, are they really necessary? What happens if I compress them? How much am I going to save? You know, things of that nature. You know, this one's got to be really huge. I mean, there's no way around it. So, you know, make sure that, you know, you take speed into consideration. Okay. So that was a lot of talking. So now we are going to do stuff. So we are going to do some on-page optimization. So what are we going to work on? We're going to work on our title tags. We're going to create the fake scenario where I am the SEO guy for GreenGeeks, and I have determined that we are going to use fastest WordPress hosting. That is my choice of keywords. This is something I feel comfortable with, and this is I'm going to go with it. So this is going to be my targeted keywords. So I need to add them to my title tags for my homepage and for my description tags on my homepage as well. Okay. So let's do that. So how do I do that? So in order to do that, I go back into my plugins over here. I have the all-in-one SEO. I click on it, and I should go here to homepage settings. Now, let me take this really quick so you guys can take a look. And so I did this prep work before the webinar started because I didn't want to do it, you know, on the fly, because that was going to take a little bit while. So for my titles, after much consideration, my title is going to be the fastest managed WordPress web hosting, GreenGeeks. Now, two things. First, you want your keywords to be at the very left. You want them to appear at the very left. The first thing in that sentence is going to be your keywords, preferably. At the right, I usually put the name of the company. Why do I do that? I do that because we are not a Fortune 500 company. So, people may not know who Green Geeks is. So it's good to put the company name there. Unless, and I would be really honored, unless you work for Coca-Cola, unless you work for Geico, or you work for Nike or some sort of thing, yeah, you don't need any introduction. People don't need to know who you are. They know. They already know. So, make sure you put your company name at the very end, okay? I usually separate them by hyphens. Some people might use pipe. It's up to you. I think hyphen looks neater, okay? Another thing to take into consideration is the characters. Most search engines do 57 characters. That is with space. I personally prefer to stick to the 55 limit because that's like a number that's easily you can remember that easily. So I use a Mac, but you can use Word. So I usually copy and paste that. Well, this plugin gives me the idea over here, and this is so it's good. So you may be asking, what if I go overboard? So if you go overboard, and we look at this, we're going to look at some listings over here. You're going to see it here. This guy over here, the number 5, the guy who has the 8. So these are all telltales. These are all telltale signs that this guy isn't doing SEO. So you can see the ellipsis over here. So Google will usually truncate this. They will usually eliminate that. So that was part of the reasons why I also told you to use this at the very left. Use this at the very left so it doesn't cut that off. So it's important you do that. Now, sometimes if you overdo that, Google might even remove it completely and put whatever they like. So you definitely don't want that. Okay. The same goes for the description. Okay. It's the same thing, but the description has a different limit. I think it's 155 characters. Oh, they say 160. Okay. You can do that. I usually do it 145 to 150. So again, a description, I'm going to copy this. And now I'm putting the company first. It's fine. So I did 51 characters. You see, I always used, instead of this, instead of that, I use like that. So again, what are my targeted keywords? My targeted keywords, as I said previously, are going to be fastest WordPress hosting. So fastest managed WordPress web hosting. So why did I do that? I did that because I may be interested. I don't know how well that's going to be. I may get some juice out of these keywords later on. So I'm just adding them to reinforce that. Remember that Google will bold all the search results. So it's gonna bold this and this and this. So I have my bases covered. And the description, again, it describes the document in a way that it's both relevant to users and search engines. So this is the key. This is the thing here. This is the balance, the art, the panache that you need to have. You need to make sure that your keywords are in there, but you don't need to stuff them. You don't want to stuff them. Like you don't need to say fastest WordPress hosting and put that blah 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 blah, because that's not going to be legible for your users. They're not going to click on your content, and Google is going to find out, and they will probably say, "Okay, here's your website. There it goes back into the 100th and so page, and all your SEO efforts might go down the drain." It happens, people. Trust me, it happens. So make sure that you take good look at that. Okay, as you can see, I use managed, I use fastest, WordPress, web hosting. I put the company there. So again, I put secure, and I also wanted to add shared VPS and dedicated web hosting. As well, because again, I don't know how well this is going to do in the future. It might even work. So, I feel happy with it. This is an ongoing process. You might want to edit this. Again, I don't recommend doing this every day. Just make sure you do it and then monitor your progress, because and that's SEO, people. It's an ongoing long process of monitoring, of changing stuff, see how it responds, keeping track of what you do, and whatnot. So this is something you do for your homepage. Now I did this. I only going to do this for your homepage over here, but this plugin allows you to do it for pretty much everything you can think of. Posts, which are blogs, pages, custom content. You name it, it can do it. Okay, so you can add that. You can add your analytics over here. We're not going to discuss analytics, unfortunately. And, you can tweak that stuff over here and do that. But again, I usually do it, set it on the home page here, and then I go to my home pages, my pages, like let's say this is a page that is timeless. And I go over here and I just tweak it like that. Okay. So I go, and start doing the same for my particular pages. So you can do this for all your blog posts, all your pages, and you start building your way up. And you do this exercise based on this and based on the strategy, your information architecture, and everything that you have ready. So we're gonna skip doing that for all the pages, of course, because we have little time. So I'm just gonna focus on the homepage, okay? The next item is going to be my URL and top level domains. So I wanted to say a little bit about that as well. I wanted to say that first of all, your URL structure is really, really important, okay? It's not the same, and I'm going to give you an example, to say mysite.com backslash directory backslash URL, like slug. It's, you know what? I started, okay, I started incorrectly. Sorry. So I wanted to talk about URLs. First of all, WordPress does a great job at making sure your URLs have hyphens in them. But what do I mean by that? If I go over here and I go to posts and I check all my posts, like you write, if you, okay, so this is the URL for that particular blog post. You write, okay, it added the news, it added, this is like my site, mysite.com backslash news backslash you write, okay? I also recommend when you're doing especially blog posts to include keywords that are relevant to that particular blog post within your URL. It's not the same, let's say I was targeting best books of science fiction 2020. Let's say my chosen keywords for this blog post was this, best book of science fiction of this. It's not the same putting this best books. It's not the same doing this like that as opposed of doing this. It's not the same. Like this has the URLs, this has the keywords that I'm looking for. Whereas this, it's just best book hyphen 220. Now, again, a word of advice, use hyphens instead of underscores. Google prefers, they actually have said that they prefer the hyphens to help them, read the URL structure better. Don't use underscores. Don't do this. Don't mush it together because this is not legible, I don't know, for people or humans, machines, maybe aliens, I don't know. But, make sure you don't do that because this is just not legible, So make sure that your URL contains, your keywords separated by hyphens if possible. The next item I wanted to say is that I'm going to give you two URLs over here. They look identical almost, with the exception that this one has the news. So which one has a bigger weight? Which one is, whatchamacallit? Which one is best as far as juice is concerned? You have to go with this one because the closer the URL is to your top level domain, which in this case is mysite.com, the more relevance Google thinks it has towards your main website. So I made this on my previous webinar, but that's not really SEO friendly. I added the category here. again, you could argue that I could add keywords here and to this directory, like for example, say I don't know, online books, like for example, like this, that this could be the category and this could be a keyword that people search for. Again, that's part of your strategy and part of what you may want to, you know, assess before you start. But some people believe, or some people think that this is just all around better and you don't need to include the category. I mean, the style is up to you. But what I wanted to say was that make sure that your URL structure is, well, you know, it has the keywords in it. Again, don't stuff it. Don't put this like a 3 times in a row, and make sure it's readable enough. Because when you go to your search engine results, you have the URL here. In this case, it's the homepage. But let's see. I'm sorry, I'm going too fast. Oh, here, like for example, it has this Costa Rica auto insurance and coverages. So again, it has a good structure, it has the hyphens, and it's good to go. So in this case, this one has the folder URL in it. So if I click on it, this is going to open it exactly like that. Oh, see, it has transport, Costa Rica, how to. So in my opinion, this is way too deep. This is way too deep. I'm browsing 1, 2, 3, 4 directories. I think that's way too deep for my liking. I would perhaps move it. Let me paste it because I keep forgetting that some people might have different monitors. So this URL, you have that. It's this one. So the domain, the top level domain is angloinfo.com, but they have how to Costa Rica transport vehicle ownership, and then they have vehicle insurance. That's way too long. That's way, way, way too long. So they need to cut that a little bit and make sure that it's close as possible to their domain. Okay, so make sure you take that into consideration. Okay, so now we can actually go to the content. So now we are going to go to content and we are going to optimize our homepage. So I go to pages over here. One more thing before I forget. Make sure when you go to settings, you go to permalinks, that you have something that I discussed this in the previous webinar. Make sure this is not this. You could perhaps do day and name, month and name, but notice again the directories, okay? So when I do directory 2020, I'm basically saying that this is more important than this. So you could use the post name. Some people use, they use like a custom structure. I've seen it at a site, a place I work. They use post name and then they put the ID at the end. Here it is. So they put the ID like this. You could do that. I mean, it's up to you. It's your site. It's your decision. But you know, just so you know, this weighs far less than this. This weighs more. Okay. So now we're ready to optimize our homepage. We are good to go. So in this case, I'm going to open my, you know, sparkling 2020 site that I have available. Again, does design matter? Well, I'm a developer and I'm a designer. I'm going to say absolutely yes, it does. It does, because unfortunately, this is like a book. We make assumptions based on what we see. Whenever we see a site that's really well designed and very well executed, we internally think that it's professional people out there. It's people who put a lot of care. And if we want to do business, if we want to put our money in it, we go by those first impressions, you know, and that's the way the society is. You can argue we will have maybe philosophy webinars in the future about that, but that's just the way it unfortunately is. I mean, it all enters through our eyes, and we make, you know, decisions based on that. So yeah, if your website, your web design will probably also make a difference as to what people do with it, you know. So going back to that, I mean, this is just a webinar and I have to write an example, but for now we are going to go like this. So as you can see, if I scroll down, I already have my titles. It's good to go. It appears, I'm sorry, I'm sure it appears like, you know, ants writing, but it does say fastest managed WordPress hosting, GreenGeeks. Let's see if I appear on the World Wide Web. Let's see what happens. If you put double quotes between that, Google, no, it doesn't. So Google doesn't have this index. No, it doesn't. Maybe it's because, let me go back. I'm not sure. I think I know what I did. This is a really huge tip. Make sure also. I think it's because in the settings and reading, I did, oh, no, I didn't. Okay. I didn't know. Sometimes people have this checked. Make sure yours isn't if you're doing SEO. Otherwise, you're not going to see anything. Okay. So you go to pages, you go to homepage. So now we are ready. First things first. First things first. We need to discuss our headings and first paragraph. So what are headings? Again, going back to our brackets, tags example that we did, when the web was invented, it's like books. Some books have a bigger title, others have a small title, and so forth and so forth. So when they were inventing the webs, they were like, okay, we're going to do some heading tags. So how are we going to differentiate them? So like, okay, we just put a number at the end. So you have an H1 tag, you have an H2 tag, you have an H3 tag, and so forth up all the way until H6. I don't know if you've seen H7 or not, but this is something that you can see also here when you write the heading. You have it here in WordPress, and you have all sorts of types of headings. In this case, you do all the way down to fourth. Now, the reason I say this is because I always recommend having one H1 heading per document and one one H2 per document. Okay, usually that's what I would recommend. I mean, you could get away with two in H2s, but you definitely want to use one H1. That is like your most important heading. And in there, as you may have guessed, you want to put your keywords out there. You want to give that relevance. You think of the pyramid. You want to reinforce that. You want to make sure that your keywords are at the very top. Now, good question. I'm not sure if I'm going to get, but how do I know which ones are headings and which ones aren't? So for that, you could go to this site over here. It's called WooRank. I'm going to use my site. I can't use my GreenGeeks demo site because I have it's a subdomain, so this tracking tool doesn't really do a good job. So if I go all the way down, it's going to give me the heading count. So in this case, I have one H1 heading, which is good, But here I am, making a small mistake. I have 4 H2 headings, so I may need to go back and revise that as part of my ongoing SEO services. And if I take a look at them, my H1s, they don't have any keywords in them. So I'm doing a bad job in that. And this webinar has made me reflect on, on my SEO efforts that I haven't done for my personal business. But I help other clients, but I don't help myself. So, I may need to go back on that and take a look, But I am including it in some of the keywords. I'm sorry it's in Spanish, but basically this tool, WooRank.com, it's going to help you determine that. It's going to determine to see how many headings do you have per page and what are they constituted of. Now, the question arises is, what if I can't edit that stuff? So if you can't edit that stuff in your WordPress theme, you can either get a developer to do that. You can do it yourself, of course, if you know your way through, or you can get a developer to do that. Basically, to hire a developer, there's tons of resources out there. One of them, I think, is called Upwork. It's called Upwork.com. In there, you can, it's like a freelance website where people, you can hire a developer to do that. It shouldn't take less than 1 or 2 hours at most to do this. So you can go there and you can hire a developer to make the changes to your theme, should you see fit, or if you have the expertise and know-how, you can do this. In my situation, it's pretty cool, because the way the 2020 theme is configured is that this over here is my H1 tag, and I can verify that if I right click. You can do that in both Chrome and Mozilla. If I right click and I hit the inspect element thing, it's going to open a panel and it's going to tell me what that tag is. I don't know if you can see this. Maybe yes, maybe no, but it says over here it's an H1 tag. So I think I'm good to go. Okay, so you can scan that document. Let's scan this one over here. In this case, this is an H2, so I will definitely infer that this is also an H2 tag because it has a similar styling. So yeah, so I need to revise this theme to make it SEO ready. You can also do this. You can also find your way through. If you right click on this, I'm sure, I think Chrome does have it, and you do view page source. This is going to open, this is how a browser renders your document. This is called an HTML document. And you can just hit Command or Control F, and you can search for the tag. In this case, I'm looking for an H2 tag, and it's telling me that it's found 6 at the bottom. So I have 6 H2 tags, so I need to edit my theme in order to reduce that to 1 or 2 at the most. So this is something that you may want to take a look at. If you can do it yourself, great. If not, yeah, you could hire a developer to do that and go for it. Okay, so in my case, I have decided, I already did this prep work before the webinar started. So of course, I am going to do this. The fastest WordPress hosting. This is going to be my introductory page. I'm going to update that. And again, my keyword is fastest WordPress hosting. Yes, fastest WordPress hosting. And I made sure that I have that here. Okay. And that is in harmony, in rhythm with both my title and my description. Okay. So now I'm good to go. I'm starting to write my content. I am going to actually use GreenGeeks content. So forgive me for, making, stealing that. One word to the wise, don't steal content, don't copy paste content, because, you might get into trouble. And, well, yeah, that could be a problem. Okay, so now I'm going to highlight, I'm going to bold this for you, because my keywords are over here. These are the keywords that I want. Now, you may want to bold them, you may not, it's up to you. But I'm just bolding it so that you can actually see within the document, how am I adding these keywords. All these keywords are based on both my description, and they're both appear in my description, and they're part of my strategy towards ranking for those particular keywords. So yeah, that's what I have on the first paragraph. And here I have this web hosting provider. Now, I want to emphasize that this content was modified just a little to make sure that it's suitable for my keywords that I want to have ready. Okay, now I want to add H2 heading over here. So I write it here, the power of a fast WordPress web hosting experience. So that's good. Okay, now I'm ready for the next paragraph. I have it here, our blazing fast WordPress, blazing fast. You see, WordPress hosting platform. Over there. As we design on every aspect of our managed WordPress shared hosting platform. I'm just highlighting this so that you can take a look as to how am I inserting these keywords into my content. I always recommend writing the content first, writing it for humans first. You're actually making sure that the content is engaging for humans first. And then as part of the flow, I start adding my keywords in there. So because this way I'm ensuring that whatever happens, I am actually writing this for humans first. I'm not writing this for search engine in mind. And like I previously said, always think of your users first. So I'm just gonna expedite this a little, and I'm gonna do it like this. And in addition, for every temperature, we put your website will be on our green WordPress. I could even web hosting platform. I could do that. I can modify this a little bit. This is an art. This is something I can't really teach what to do. But in here, I'm making a small mistake. I notice I'm repeating hosting here and hosting there. So I might say, I need to remove that. So here, whoop, and here, this is an H3 header. I just changed here. And I'm going to change this to an H3, our WordPress hosting platform. Okay, there you go. our WordPress hosting, web hosting platform. Okay, and I think I'm happy with it. So once I'm happy with it, I update that, and that's good to go. You know, my content is good, and I feel happy with it, and this is something I feel comfortable with doing. And if I check it out here, you know, this looks a little bad, I know, because it's a theme. It's the theme I did from the previous webinar, and that's that. Now, word to the wise, you want to have lots of content. Now, by lots, I don't mean you should have the like this huge encyclopedia of garbled text in there. Just make sure you balance that. And that's why I said that design is really, really important, because, you know, if I go to my website, I don't want to toot my own horn. Well, actually, I could go to GreenGeeks as well. You know, I am adding the graphics. I am adding the text. I am making sure that there's a flow of content and text, and I'm adding all that stuff in my webpage on my website. You know, so you know, well, this looks a little bad. So you know, I'm making sure I'm adding a lot of content, but my design flows in a way that the content is neatly spaced out. It's neatly done. It has the graphics. It has the images. So you know, it's going to follow everything, and it's going to be, you know, good for SEO. I could add even more content. Now, the sweet spot for this, usually 400 words for either art, for any given page. Make sure it's like a 400 words. If you can add more, great. But again, find your balance, because if you put 2,000 words and you put them like this, nobody's going to read that. People are going to say, oh, and they're just going to go. You know, make sure you work wisely with both headers, images, videos, things like that, that make sure the flow of the document is easy to follow, because people scan on the web a lot. They scan a lot. They scan a whole lot. I mean, you're not going to expect somebody. Well, maybe my grandmother, if she used the internet, she will read word by word until the bottom. But we people, we usually just scan, and we are searching for something. So make sure that, you know, you space that out. And that's why I said a good design will help you accomplish that, because a good designer will know that, will know these principles, will know the design principles in order to, you know, spread that out evenly. Okay, so you may want to check your keyword density. There are tools to do that, but you know, I don't have the resources there. Another good thing to do, another good practice to follow, is for your links. You know, make sure you link towards you know, inner pages that you have on your website that deal with those keywords. Like, for example, I'm going to do here, and let's say I was at GreenGeeks. I'm just going to do an X, but you know, my point of here was, like, let's say, for example, we're going to go back to GreenGeeks, greengeeks.com. So for example, here, I may want to add WordPress hosting here. Like, for example, here, I want to link. You see this anchor here? This anchor, the anchor means, for example, it says see plans. The anchor for this link is see plans. That's the word behind the link. But it takes me to WordPress hosting. So perhaps you could if I'm doing the SEO for GreenGeeks, I could say, okay, I wanted to use WordPress hosting as an anchor, and it's going to take me to the page that's about WordPress hosting, you know? So I am giving the emphasis through a link. I am making sure that it's hard, it's good, it's solid, and I'm interlinking there. So you'll see that a lot in websites that link, and you know, Google just follows that, and they take those anchors and they start doing their magic, you know, with their algorithm. Word to the wise: don't images. I forgot about images. In this case, I'm not using images, but images are very, very important towards SEO. We search for images online as well. I was going to use my example over here. You know, this is me. I use me a lot. So before this webinar started, I mean, it's not the same. This is the file name. This is the file name of this image. It's, let me go back. This is the file name of this image. It's called Marco Berrocal. That's my last name. And then I have WordPress developer. Let's say I was really, really interested in the keyword of being a WordPress developer. This is not the same as this. And this is what the camera came up with. This is something like that. So if I upload, let's say both were the same images, you can more or less infer which one is way better. I mean, it's this one over here. And this is also important because in my case, it's important because people may search for me online because I'm a developer and they might say, oh, I want to know what this guy is all about. So, you know, when I search for it and you're going to find a bunch of images about me, and this is not me, but this is me. And this is definitely me in the past time. I don't want to remember. So I'm all over the place. So, you know, this has to do with the fact that people are putting my name up there with that image. So Google associates that with that being me. Okay, so it's good also that you rename your images, you know, to something that has certain keywords in them, because that is going to reinforce your document. That is going to reinforce the idea that you are behind of optimizing your website. So it's pretty important that you work on that. Okay, that you keep that in mind. And I think that's it. The rest of your document we'd already do. Now, what not to do? Now, please, what not to do? Let's discuss that. So the first rule of thumb is don't spam. You know, don't spam. Don't stuff keywords in there. Don't you know, think you can outsmart Google. Google has a lot of people working for them. They're very bright people. They are people that can think of any scenario that you can think of. You know, make sure that your document here, that the flow of it was the same as my titles and my meta description. It flows. It's there. You know, it's an art. I really can't explain that, but make sure you don't stuff that and make that not legible or relevant to your users. That's why I said at the beginning of the slide, you know, Google cares about the user experience and they care about the relevance of the document. So make sure that you do offer that out of the box with your content. Okay, so the next one, I think it's the last slide. Yeah, it is the last slide, and we are almost out of time, which I love it and don't love it, because the last item I want to check into are links. So you are going to need links. What do I say with this? Links are basically people vouching for you as a website. So it's I'm going to use the example here. It's not the same. Let's say it's not the same. My science professor saying I am a good chemist than Albert Einstein saying the same thing about me. So Albert Einstein, he's going to have a lot of weight. He's going to be, his vote is going to be very, very influential on me, as opposed to my high school science teacher. You know, that works the same. The analogy is the same with backlinks. So with links to your site, there are votes to your site. So what are we looking for? We are looking for people that link towards your website, preferably using anchors that are related to your keywords. Now that is the difficult part. You can't control who links to you and why. So how do we get some links? And with this, there's ways to do this. It's a dangerous road, by the way, because you might be enticed to pay. You might be enticed to pay for it. I don't recommend paying for it. And what I recommend to getting backlinks is for you to write quality content to help people out, to make sure you're an authority figure in what you do, to be someone of value, and people will start linking towards you. They will start using your article, your resource as a reference out there, because think about it. Think about whenever you share an article online on Facebook or on Twitter or whatnot, you just paste that thing. You just like, man, this is the article. I want you to read this. Guys, just read this. You know, so when you do that, when you are the recipient, when you are the writer of that article, what do they have in common? They are writing quality content. So writing stuff that is useful for people, and think of your customers as well. I mean, I think I saw something with a mechanic or something in a car before this webinar. Help people out. I mean, help them. I don't know. Think about how to change a tire, or how to see if your motor is going bad, how to know if your radiator is going bad. You know, help people out. and make sure that your content is good. So that is like, I think it's the hard way, but it's the best way to get links to your site, and people will start eventually linking towards you. So all of those links are going to be votes to your site, preferably if they're related to your industry, even better. Okay. So that's how more or less it works. So you may be saying, so how do we get some? So let's say you are like, okay, I don't want to do this. So how do we get some? So a good strategy would be, to check resources out there. So I usually when I started doing SEO for my stuff, I usually look at the top websites out there. So you can just Google and say top websites, most visited websites in the world, most visited website 2020. Okay, so this is going to give me an article of what the most popular websites are going to be. So you take a look at this and you are like, okay, how can I get a link at Google? Now you can't do that anymore. You used to, when you had Google Plus, or yeah, was it Google Plus? Yeah, what's their attempt at saying Facebook? Okay, yeah, but that failed. YouTube, you could perhaps have a YouTube channel that could have your link towards your website in it. So if you do that, yeah, you could absolutely do that. Amazon, yeah, Amazon is also doable. Let's say you're an affiliate or you have a profile on Amazon. It's a public profile, and people are linking towards you. So my gist of it is, and let me go back to my example for example, of searching my name. So this picture, this one over here, this is me and my son, by the way. So this is because I added I have a Goodreads profile. I have a Goodreads profile. I used to review a lot of books. I used to write reviews about books. Ew. I used to write reviews about books, and I used to do that in my own time. So I added my link here. I added my link here, as you can see, my website, and I have my name here. And the file name is probably with my name as well. So it's going to associate all of that, and it's going to say, okay, this is Marco Berrocal. So that's more or less how you start getting those links in. So it's just small efforts like that. That's not small, it's a huge effort, actually. Pinterest is also here. I'm here in YouTube, as you can see, same hello. So that's more or less how that works. You take a look at what the top websites are, and you start seeing if you can get a link towards it. Now, I can tell you right up front, like getting a link from Wikipedia would be huge. It would be awesome. It would be the bomb. But I didn't think of this. You didn't think of this. A lot of people want to do the same thing. So with Wikipedia, it's really hard because you have to be, you're writing content for your users, and probably someone will see you, they'll penalize you, and that's that. So you can search for that. Top websites, and you can work your way. Like, for example, here, Wikipedia, list of most popular websites. It's going to give you a listing of all of them, and you can just see, Tmail. I don't know what Tmail is, but maybe it's possible to leave a link there, Facebook as well. You have a page there, you put your link up there, and so forth and so forth. So my key thing is, search for that. What else can you use? You can use press releases. You can write news articles. You can write stuff of that nature for others, and you can just leave your link there. I've seen, and it's also useful if you're in a certain niche or community, you can be a guest author on certain websites, and that's also helpful. I see it a lot in my line of work. Like, let's say I want to write a tutorial to a big website that's related to what I do, and they allow me to link to my website. That's like a vote, and I do it mostly because of the link. It's like an exchange of services out there. This subject about links can have its own webinar, but my takeaway here is that find ways to get some links. So this is going to be an ongoing effort. And this is something you can do maybe, I don't know, maybe like an hour a week, and browse through these websites and find a way that you can actually have that links, or view, see who the authority figures are at your website, see if they offer blog posts, find press release websites, open profiles everywhere. I think Yahoo listings, they offer you for a fee. I'm not sure. I think Yahoo listings for a fee, I think it's like $60 or so a month. They can list your website all over the place in all of these business listings addresses out there. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time, but Listings are also a big thing that I'm unfortunately leaving out, but they do that for you. Okay, so that takes care of that. So important thing is to monitor your backlinks. There are tools to do this, but most of them are paid, and they do cost quite a bit, which leads me to my next item. SEO is not free. So yeah, you could do some stuff for free, but if you want to get serious about it, if you want to rank better, or if you want to really, really improve it, you're going to need some tools that are going to keep track of what your efforts are, what your strategy is going to be. And the reason I say this is because, for example, Ahrefs has a tool called, I'm not going to see that, but you can actually, you can have this, I think it's Site Explorer, I'm not sure, but you can actually see, how your competitors, what their backlinks are, because you can see that, and that will give you a great idea as to say, oh, how did he get those backlinks? So if I have this toolbar over here, let me go to one of the huge amount. Okay, let's go to the bird watching tools, bird watching example. So if I click on this BL over here, I have backlinks, and there it's 29. So if I open this over here, Ahrefs is going to give me the list of that particular website. Who is he using to rank? So as you can see, he has a link from Lonely Planet. So again, part of my strategy will be, okay, I'm going to go to Lonely Planet. I'm going to go to a forum. I'm going to answer some questions, and I'm going to leave my link over there, in a subtle way, but I am going to leave it. So that's a vote that is going from Lonely Planet towards my website. So I can more or less see what he's doing for. And let me tell you something. If you can see what your competitor is doing and he's not paying for that, I mean, you have an advantage of that. That's a good investment, because you can outsmart your competitor. You can see other sites that are similar to Lonely Planet. I could think of TripAdvisor, for example. I could think of Airbnb. There's things I could think about, and that will give you the insights to outrank that person. Okay, because this is a competition and you want to outdo that person. So that's why I said that SEO is not free. It's an investment that you do. So how much does Ahrefs cost? It costs roughly like $100 a month. So it's expensive, I know, but on the bright side, you can, deduct it out of your taxes or something as an expense. But you can actually get, your investment is paid off when you start getting that traffic. You start getting those, in this case, these tours in, and it's valuable because, it pays itself off. That's what I think it does. And the last thing I want to touch is Google rankings. Now, you are doing your SEO, right? And you are like, okay, how am I doing? How am I doing? So, back in, it happened again. Oh, man. Oh, this. Okay. So how do I check my Google rankings? So let's say I'm competing for all these keywords and I want to know how well I'm doing. So you could, of course, go to Google and check, every time you want to check, but it's best to leave that to a tool. So in this case, I recommend this one. It's called Rank Tracker. It's this one over here. Rank Tracker. And this, of course, it's not a free tool. It's a paid tool. So what this does, I don't have an account with them yet, but you can see from this graphic over here. You see this graphic, and you have the keywords over here, and you can see what your actual rank is, how well you're doing, and what your evolution is. So this is like a tool, a centralized tool that allows you to rank, see what your rankings are for any particular search engine. And it's really useful. It's relatively cheap, I think. It's about $50 for 50 keywords, which I think it's more than enough if you want to focus on your main keywords, on your big strategy like your bird's eye view. And with that, wait, we still got time? No, we don't. Unfortunately, we don't have time. The two things I don't have time to say is that you need to submit your site to Google Webmaster Tools. Google Webmaster Tools is basically, it's another tool that Google offers, and they're going to give you like the whole SEO audit of your website. They're going to tell you if your links are broken, if it finds any crawl errors, if there's stuff that you can do to improve. And it's good that you have that tool installed, and you can actually see what you can do in order to, make sure your website is as, top condition for it to be crawled by Google. And the second item I forgot, or I didn't forget, I don't have enough time. It's the Google business listings. It's a hot thing. It's a hot thing. People want to do that, and unfortunately, I don't have time as to help you out as to how to, make sure that your site appears here. This is a business listing. It has the little maps. It has the little things here. People can actually leave reviews, start on your website and whatnot. For that, I unfortunately ran out of time. And with that, on behalf of Anna and Erica, I would like to thank all of you for this webinar. I had a lot of fun because I had to polish a lot of things to get ready. So with that, I am done.
Marco, there's a couple of 7 questions. Yeah. Little water.
I needed that. I'm sorry. Okay, let me take a look. Our top 10 or top 5 words by a keyword. Phil, usually they have the word ad. I think Google limits that to 5 most, because let's be realistic. Google can't put all the listings that are paid, right? They need to filter that out, and they make money off of that. So they top that at 5. So only the top 5, if they're bidding for it, will appear there. So only the top 5, yeah. The rest will be the organic ones, the ones that don't say ad next to them. The next question is by Marinela Miclea. What about Rank Math SEO? It's not as low as Yoast. I have never used Rank Math SEO, but I'll take a look into it, because I kind of stick to all-in-one SEO. Even though Yoast is the most popular one, I think the same as you do. I think it's too bloated, and it doesn't allow me to do many of the things that I would like. So let me see. It might be good. You never know. I'm always in the lookout for new plugins and new stuff, because that gives you a better insight. Let me see it. I'll take a look. Rank Math. Okay. All right. I'll take a look. Let me install it, and I'll tweak it. Okay. Thank you. Paul Massey, is it easy to add SEO plugins manually into code? Okay, first of all, you can't really add plugins to it. You're going to have to do it manually with you're going to need 2 things if you want to do that way. You're going to need an FTP editor, or you need to access your files on your site. Okay. And second, you're going to have to manually edit or add the tags yourself within the document. So you're going to need a code editor that does that. So for example, you need I use Visual Studio Code. You can use a notepad, but it's a little, it looks a little bad, but you can use this. It's called a code editor, and you can open that whenever you have your FTP files. In this case, this is a WordPress theme that I developed. It looks intimidating initially, but basically you're going to have to enter here, and you're going to have to add your brackets somewhere there and do that yourself. So yeah, it's this is part of the reasons why WordPress is so popular. It's because it takes that away from you, and you can handle that within your dashboard. Phil Ward asks, can you edit URL name in WordPress without changing the headline of the page if the page is already created, but you need to update? You need to update the URL. Wait, I need to reread that. Can you edit the URL name in WordPress without changing the headline of the page? If the page, yes, you can. There's 2 things, Phil, you need to take into consideration. I left that part out, but it's great that you asked. So let's say you want to edit that URL. First and foremost, let's use this example over here. This is a page that is timeless. First, you want to edit this over here. This is a page that is timeless. Or let's say I want to do this over here. A page that I want to get rid of this. So I can do that over here. Okay, that's half of the job. Okay, now, okay, if I go, and let me see. If I go over here and I open that, okay, I'm slowing a little. This has the new URL, right? But this is what used to be, correct? This is what's going to happen. So the old one was, let's go back a little bit. Let's do the notepad because I think it looks better. So this is the old one, correct? This is a page that is timeless. Now I change that to a page that is timeless. So when I do that, when I do what you just said, the old page is not going to be found anymore. It's not going to be found. So Google will not know this. Google will say, hey, what's going on here? This page is not going to be found. And this is part of the reasons why I recommended installing Google Webmaster Tools, Sitemap Tools, Webmaster Tools, I'm sorry, because Google will tell you, you have so many pages on your website that are not found. So you're going to have to act on that because you don't want to lose your SEO juice on that. Let's say you had some juice, like some people are going to this page already, but you want to improve it, and that's really good. You want to improve it, you want to change the URL, you want to add keywords, you want to do this, you want to do that. But now you have this problem because Google had this page indexed, correct? So the way to solve this is that you go and you install something called a redirection plugin. So I am not going to get into the techie stuff a lot, but basically you need to do a 301 redirect. This basically means to Google that your website has redirected to a new location. Okay? So the old location was this, and now the new one is this. Okay? So to do that, you install a plugin to handle that. You could do that on the service stuff, but again, we're talking WordPress here, so WordPress will allow you to install that. So I usually type in here redirect. I type in redirect, and this is the plugin that I'm interested in. I want this one, redirection plugin. Okay. So I'm going to install that, and hopefully it's done by today. And okay, it's installed. Okay, cool. So I'm going to activate it, and I'm going to go here to settings. I go to plugins and I go to settings, and now no. Oh my God. Okay, I got to do this. Okay, finish setup. Okay, I'm finished. Okay, I'm finished. Wow. Okay, so I want to go here to redirects, and I want to add a new one. Basically, I want to add a new one. So the relative URL is this one. So this is the old one. This one over here. And this is the one I want to redirect to. Add redirect. So now, what's going to happen? So now if I use this old one, it's going to redirect me to the new one. And it's going to tell Google that I made a 301 redirect. This is called a 301 redirect. This is a permanent redirect. Permanent redirect. As the name implies, it is permanent. Don't use permanent if you want to do it temporary. There's also a temporary redirect. Is there going to be a scenario where you want to have a temporary redirect? Yeah, there could be one. I don't know, but there could be. 302 is a temporary redirect. A temporary redirect. Okay, this is, as the name implies, a temporary. So you can search for that, search for those redirects. These numbers over here, 301, 302, 404, 503, 200. Those are basically response codes of the server. When the server gives me, the server, when I go to a website, the server will give me a response. The server will always respond. It's much like me. I will always give you an answer, either if you like it or not. So it's gonna be a response. So 200 means okay, and 301 means a permanent redirect. 404 means I couldn't find, not found. I couldn't find what you're looking for, and so forth. So these are all status codes that the server has. You may want to read them for, for knowledge, to understand how the internet works a little bit better. But for Google and search engines, we need this one, 301, a permanent redirect. Okay. I missed this. Why so few H2 tags? You said 6 is too many. I think 6 is too many, correct. I recommend you sticking to 1 or 2 because it's a hierarchy thing. You have the number 1, you have the number 2, and then you have the rest. And if you are doing that too much, I mean, I personally, I mean, you may want to do it your way, but I just think doing 1 out of each and then the rest H3 and H4 tags it's a far better rhythm, or it explains the document better. Yes, it does. Having a Facebook page does help you with your links to your site. Absolutely. Members of an organization that have a website can be encouraged to add your website link, like a nonprofit or art website. That is correct, Phil. We'll give you a scenario. I worked for the University of Costa Rica in a project once. I did the job almost for free. It was really, really, really cheap what I charged. But my main takeaway was that they added my link to my website there. So the University of Costa Rica, it's an authority link. It's an authority website. So that increased my SEO juice, my page authority. I'm sorry. Brown and Lemon says, thank you, Marco, for great info. I appreciate your ex. Please keep doing more. Maybe how to change themes or style. Hey, that is coming next. I'm really excited for those, really, because that is like my passion. Themes in WordPress, talk about the Cody stuff or not, but we're going to have others as well. We're going to have Elementor. We're going to have DB. We're going to have builders. We're going to have a lot of them. So, we're really excited about it. And I think it's, yeah, I'm excited. Once you change the slug and make them more to Caroline Chen, I just answered that question. So basically, you want to use a 301 redirect plugin. Man, I have so many windows open. Let me close like the gazillion that I have. Woo! So, wow, that's slowing my browser down, by the way. So, wow. Okay, so it's this one over here, the redirection one. So you want to use a redirection plugin that takes care of the old in order to redirect it to the new and let Google and the whole World Wide World know. Okay. Marinela Miclea. Oh, even better. That's even better. Okay, that's good. I'm going to check that out. Okay, I'll definitely check it out. If I need to change my slides, I will. I might even use it for my next project. I don't know. It's really good. And I guess that's the questions, eh?
Do you have any other question, anybody? We're running out of time. Sorry, we are running a little late. Anything else? Let's see.
So make sure, one more thing, small advertising. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at GreenGeeks, okay? In that we'll publish, any news that we have upcoming about future webinars and all of that stuff.
Good, thank you. This was great, Marco.
Yes,
thank you, Anna. Thank you, Erica.
Thank you, everybody.
Erica, I have so. Okay. No, I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
We'll see you soon, guys. Thank you. Have all a great weekend, and thank you for staying to the end. Yes.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Marco and Anna.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
Erica. Thank you, Marco. Bye.
Ciao. Bye-bye.
Ciao.